Yo, what is good, everybody? It's your boy Golden Falls Golden What If, whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. I'm back with part 4, or the finale of What If Deku had a durability quirk. Some of you may be wondering, why is the finale? And honestly, some of y'all can probably guess the validity of an ending that's coming up. But at the end of the day, this is the finale. Nonetheless, I hope y'all enjoyed this story. Leave some suggestions below what y'all want to see next. I haven't decided what I'm going to do next. I think I'm going to finish the other story that I have going on right now, and then we'll go from there. Hopefully by that time I have an idea that what I want to do, and hopefully we're ready to go right when I got it. And yeah, that's about it. I'm not gonna waste that much more of your time, and like I said, as always, leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that stuff, and let's just get into the what if. Let's get it. Izuku Midoriya and his classmates blast through the forest. The forest that is meant to be a challenge is pretty and relatively easy for Izuku. He's able to take every single hit, every single blow, and frankly get his entire class through with relative ease. Very little scratches and very little damage done in general. Izuku is the perfect tank. He's the perfect person to have in front of you, and frankly, if he had something like One for All, he would be a force to be reckoned with. Imagine if someone with Izuku's durability had an insane amount of physical output. Now that is terrifying. Someone that could really just throw a punch insanely hard or basically blow up buildings type of power, combined with the durability of being able to take every blow that gets thrown at him, that would be relatively unstoppable. Nonetheless, that's what Izuku is working for. He's working toward. He eventually, and his classmates, would arrive at the training camp. The training camp would then be told to be relatively starting tomorrow. Aizawa wants them to settle down, settle in, get some food, and get some good rest, because tomorrow is hell. Aizawa makes that extremely clear, and everyone goes their separate ways. Eventually leading to the next day. Bright and early, Aizawa would call them up. He would begin to explain exactly what their strengths and weaknesses are, and that they haven't extended the power of their quirks at all. They've only had real life situations. They haven't truly trained, so that's exactly what they're going to do, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Everyone is called out and told exactly what they need to do, except for Kirishima and Izuku Midoriya. They're told that they are going to spar until their wheels fall off, until both of them collapse to the ground and pass out. That's exactly what they need to do. Yes, this will be more beneficial for Kirishima than even Izuku, but this will allow Izuku to see if there are limitations with his durability. If he's caught off guard, is the durability not there, or does he have to be on guard at all times? Izuku says that he didn't even think about that, but he believes that his durability sticks with him no matter what. Maybe it's less durable, quote unquote, when he's not paying attention, but overall he hasn't seen anything happen to him that was a sucker punch that would actually do damage. Their training would eventually begin, and him and Kirishima would go at it over and over and over again, beating the living heck out of each other. It would be an ugly sight. Frankly, blood would be everywhere if Izuku wasn't as durable as he is, and Kirishima is pretty injured now and then. But it's okay, they have rest time, they have downtime, and even Kirishima says that he wants to excel himself even further, and he wants to show that he can be just as durable as Izuku, showing off a new power or a new strength he's gotten while training with Izuku in the past. Of course, Izuku is pretty impressed by this and hasn't really thought about transcending his body as well. He hasn't even been able to do anything like that, but it's extremely impressive what he's seeing, and their sparring would continue all the way to the night. Eventually, Aizawa would allow all of them to eat, relax, and just hang out. The next day, the same thing would happen, but at the very end of it, there's going to be a little bit of a test of courage, more like kind of like a game that they want to play. Izuku would be looking around to see that the little kid that was here earlier isn't actually here. The little kid did try to punch him, same way he did in canon, but I mean, it didn't hurt Izuku. But Izuku didn't really keep tabs on him throughout this time. He eventually would see him walking through the forest, eventually up toward a mountain. Thinking that this kid might need some dinner, Izuku would walk over there. He would begin to head over, and just as he's climbing up the mountain, well, everything in the forest would erupt in flames. He'd begin to panic slightly, but realize that the kid up here needs to be put into a safe place, or if this is a safe place, he needs to deem it as one. He runs up to see there's a giant monster of a man standing in front of the young boy by the name of Koda. Immediately, Izuku dives forward to get Koda out of there, grabbing him and getting him away from the giant monster of a man by the name of Muscular. Izuku refuses to leave and tells Koda that he needs to run down the hill and get back to the camp. Koda doesn't know what to say, doesn't know what to do. He's freaking out, having a panic attack, and which is warranted when you have someone like Muscular standing in front of you. Izuku refuses to back down, Muscular slinging a punch straight at Izuku, but Izuku is able to slip under it, landing a punch straight to his guts. The fight continues and pushes Muscular to his max power form, but even this isn't enough to damage Izuku. Izuku has taken punches from All Might, has taken punches from the strongest, some of the strongest beings out there, and Muscular is no different. Muscular does try to trap Izuku's arm within his muscles, but Izuku is able to willpower himself, pushing his arm upward, normally which would break someone else's arm, but his arm and his bone is durable enough to take it, slinging Muscular over the top, slamming him into the wall as he sends a barrage of punches toward his face. This takes a while, 15, maybe 20 minutes of beating on Muscular to get him out cold, but luckily he was able to save the day and help Koda. His hands would look bruised and battered, but Izuku would limp over, grabbing Koda as he sprints through the forest as quick as possible, leaving the mangled Muscular right there. Don't get me wrong, he's just more like black-eyed, bruised like crazy. He's not mangled in terms of the fact of shredded into pieces, but he's definitely injured a far bit. Even Izuku wanted to make sure that the man was completely out cold and completely out of condition to harm them. Izuku would eventually get Koda back toward the camp, but they're about 20 to 30 feet away. And just as he sets him down, this portal immediately opens in front of him and he's grabbed by a figure, dragging him away into this mountainous area. Izuku would immediately punch the man in the face, in which it's Dabi. Dabi blasts fire at him, but Izuku is able to basically shrug it off with only a few singes. Izuku would look around and begin to panic as someone grabs his neck and drags him back. It's Shigaraki. Shigaraki tells him that he knows that he can't melt him away and can't destroy him like everybody else, and that's exactly why they're taking him in, dragging him within the portal as Izuku looks on and reaches his hand out. This time around, they didn't want Bakugo. They realized something, that Izuku's quirk was extremely powerful, and if they got him on board, or if they got him in general, this could be a massive upgrade for them. Immediately, Izuku tries to get out of there, to break free, but just as he tries, he's pinned down and stuck. They all know that he's not powerful in terms of his fists. Yes, he can pack one hell of a punch, but it's nothing insane. If they chain him down, he won't be able to break free that easily. Immediately, Izuku tells them and looks at them, telling them all that he won't become a villain. That's not in his blood and it will never happen. He continues trying to break free, struggling, but a voice over the intercom begins to speak, telling him that they lied. They didn't want him to become a villain. And that was one bold assumption by Izuku to think they're that stupid. All for One is speaking to him, telling him that that's not why he's here. There's a far greater reason why he's here. Immediately, he's dragged off and put on a gurney while he's strapped down to it. Izuku tries to break free, but he can't. He can feel himself slipping as a needle tries to get jammed into his neck, and Izuku says that there is no needle that will be able to penetrate his skin unless he allows it. Izuku has realized something during their bit of training, that his quirk is very, very interesting. That he can actually manipulate his durability. He's been running on max, but there's a reason why as a young child, after one or two shots from the doctor, his skin didn't just harden up entirely from the needles itself. he knew he needed those shots. So basically unconsciously or unknowingly, he would soften his skin up enough that his doctor would be able to do so. So when they tried to do it, it wouldn't work. Izuku knew what they needed to do and what he didn't want them to do, so he was able to keep his skin exactly how it is. It didn't matter though. He was dragged off, and they told him that it wouldn't matter at the end of the day, that everything is painful, and they know his limitations, and they'll take a chainsaw to his arm for hours if they have to. Eventually, this would lead Izuku to a room, Izuku bracing himself, but just as he does, gas begins to fill the room, and the voice of All For One begins to speak once again, telling him that they really love lying to him, and that he's so gullible. He really thinks that they would just tell him exactly what they plan on doing? God, no. That's just idiotic. And when they can see the path to victory right in front of them, now why would they give that up? Not much time would pass, and the people, the heroes, that would eventually come to save Izuku would arrive. All Might would come blasting through the wall to hopefully save the young boy. But unfortunately, the body of Izuku is laying there, seemingly out cold but on its last legs. He grabs Izuku, taking off as everyone fights the villains. As he does though, he puts Izuku in the car, and quickly it's deemed that his pulse is fading, and fading quick. Izuku's body would be taken to the hospital, and Izuku himself would be taken to the hospital, of course, and he would be holding on to dear life. Feeling the pain throughout his entire body, Izuku would realize what happened, everything that happened while he was out. The only way that they were going to get him to pass out, get him defenseless, was via a gas. Some sort of gas that would knock him out or numb him to the point that he wouldn't know what's going on. And he realizes something while they're driving. He looks up at the driver and tells them that All For One has it. He has it. But as he says that, he passes back out, and the driver doesn't even know what that even means. What is going on? What's happening? He makes it to the hospital, and let's just say Izuku may make it, but the TV screen says a whole nother thing for the rest of Hero Society. What is happening on the outside is terrifying. Izuku watches as the League of Villains pick All Might apart, and many of the other heroes. Izuku is shocked to see what's going on as he realizes something. He realizes that All For One looks different than what he saw. The faceless man with a weird mask seemed to be on his last legs. That's what he's heard, and that's what he's heard as well when he was just a kid, learning more and more about these crazy fights that All Might used to have. But what's going on now? All For One looks fine. He looks confident. A dangerous thing for villains is confidence. Izuku watches on as All Might would fall at the feet of All For One, as All For One would pull off his mask, and his face would seemingly be healed, and he would relay to All Might, straight up to him, saying that the only reason why that this even occurred was that they let Izuku Midoriya get too strong. If they left him, if he stayed in that gutter, if he stayed away, and they didn't let him be stronger, didn't let him get to UA, maybe this never would have happened. You can tell how much strength Izuku has put into his Quirk, how much time and preparation he has. And he hasn't even scratched the surface of the potential. All For One makes it abundantly clear that All Might will die here, and Hero Society will soon follow. And just as these words are uttered to All Might, the TV would shut down and the power grid would go out. The villains have gained such an upper hand that the heroes aren't sure what's going to happen. Many are unsure what's going to happen. Just as Izuku watches this happen, his body begins to convulse, And all of the damage that he occurred or basically racked up throughout the years of him training is now putting strain on his body. Scar tissue and many other things are arising from his skin, and his body is shutting down. Organs themselves are beginning to deplete faster than you could possibly imagine, and hours would go by and Izuku Midoriya would no longer be with us. On top of that, and on top of the death of Izuku Midoriya, it dignified and basically was a sign that Hero Society would come crashing at its core. They didn't realize what this meant. They didn't realize that all it took was All for One's eyes to open slightly on who was at UA and who obtained such a power like this that seemed so basic and that many thought was just a shrug of nothing. Izuku used and honed this quirk so well that the potential of the quirk was far beyond anything they would even believe. Izuku Midoriya has opened up the way for villain society and villainhood to take over. And he, luckily enough for him, won't have to watch it. But he'll be in the afterlife. And frankly for him, maybe he is watching it as it begins to crumble into nothingness. And knowing the heart of Izuku, he would feel like it's his fault. But at the end of the day, it isn't. It isn't his fault. He used the cards that were dealt to him. And maybe if things didn't happen the way they did, all of this wouldn't have occurred. But at the end of the day, Izuku wasn't durable enough to stop someone from taking his quirk. Stop someone from taking all of the hard work, well, that he put in. Unfortunately, villains don't play by the rules. And villains knew what they needed to do to make sure that Hero Society fell. And fell it did. The society in Japan and many other countries would slowly but surely change over the course of the next couple years. And everything began to change with All for One and the League of Villains, with Shigaraki right next to him, leading the helm for what's to come in society in the future. And that is a wrap for What If Deku Had a Durability Quirk. If you guys enjoyed, make sure to leave a like, make sure to leave a sub, make sure to leave a comment down below. And I hope y'all enjoyed the series, and I hope y'all continue to enjoy these series that I do. And that's about it. Hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.